Jai Gurudev, Mirta, and Stefano. Thank you very much for this kind invitation to speak to this beautiful assembly on the behalf of the European Union Summit. And it's my great privilege to talk to all of you on the topic of Nourish and Ayurveda. So we are in the midst of a pandemic, and what we all wish is to be strong. What we all wish is to have a strong immune system. And we all know that Maharishi Ayurveda has a great potential to increase the strength of the immune system. And this is what I'll talk to you about today. And I was given about a little bit more than 1 hour to talk to you. And there will be a possibility to ask questions after my talk. So please use the chat to enter your questions, and I'll review all of them and give answers to all your questions. So let me share a PowerPoint presentation. So this is our topic for today: how to nourish and purify body, mind, the Ayurvedic way. And I want to start with the definition of health. As you all know, when somebody is studying medicine, health is not really a topic, but disease is the main topic of studying conventional medicine. And every doctor is trained to fight diseases through all kinds of mechanisms, be it surgery or medicines or vaccinations, but it's always fighting disease. It's never strengthening health. But Ayurveda, from the beginning, from the inception, in times immemorial, is health-oriented. And this is the main difference between these two systems of medicine. Ayurveda has a clear understanding of what health is and has a clear agenda on how to achieve this wonderful state of health and fullness. So what you can see and read here is one of the definitions of health that is in the Sushruta Samhita, in the Sutrasthana of Sushruta. And it goes like this: Samadosha, Samagnischa, Samatatu Malakriya, Prasanat Mendriyamana, Swastha Ityapitiyate. This means Samadosha, balance in the physiological feedback loops, the doshas; Sama agni, balance in metabolism, strength in agni; Sama dhatu, balance of the build-up of the dhatus, of the body tissues, and balanced excretions. This is the physical part of health, and this physical part of health is characterized by the word sama. And sama, as you know from Samaveda, means balance. It means a balanced flow of existence. So sama is the topic in physiology. Once we gain sama, balance in physiology, in the 3 different or 4 different fields of physiology, then we have the physical aspect of health achieved. But this is only half of what health means, because there's another part to health, and this is mental health. And this is under the topic of prasanna. Prasanna means bliss, it means wellness, it means feeling good. And feeling good on the level of Atma, soul, Indriya, senses, and Manas, mind. And this leads to Swastha. Swastha, you may all have heard this term. Swastha consists of two word roots: sva, meaning the self, and stha, meaning being established. So when we are healthy, we are established in the self. And the self is connected to bliss. It's connected to absolute well-being, and this is the subjective experience of health. So on the level of the body, it is balance, and on the level of the mind and being, it's prasanna, it's bliss consciousness. So health is a comprehensive state of being where the mind is at its best and connected to the soul, and the body is in absolute balance. Yes, so health is the topic of Ayurveda, and the different constituents can be nourished through different technologies that are given in the Ayurvedic texts. And I think that Maharishi has given us a lot of knowledge about these technologies, and they're also in the classical Ayurvedic texts. And I want to give you an overview of important Ayurvedic techniques that you can use also at home and from home in order to strengthen your state of health, in order to nourish your system. So here again, we talk about health. Perfect health is the goal of Maharishi Ayurveda. And this is a quote from Charaka Samhita. This is the other great text of Ayurveda next to Sushruta. And it says the purpose of Ayurveda is to protect health of the healthy and to eliminate the disorders in the sick. And very interestingly, this knowledge of the second element of of curing disease through strengthening health, it's not only an idea of the Vedic text that Maharishi has been very keen to talk about. It's also known in other philosophies. I have here a quote from German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who says, "A little health now and then is the best therapy for sick people." And this is something that we really have to apply now in this time of pandemic, when so many people suffer. We have to create bliss, we have to create orderliness, and we have to share this with as many people as possible to bring them out of their depression and despair during these times. Now, what are the reasons for becoming sick? This is very genuinely discussed in the Ayurvedic texts, and I want to give you some information about this. So the Charaka Samhita says that there are two main reasons for becoming sick. One is called Paurushika, and this is what we call lifestyle diseases. And the other one is called Devika. This means it's pertaining to the devas, to the laws of nature, and it is not something that comes through the fact that we make a mistake in our lifestyle, but it's something that we bring into our life. So we would call it now a genetically caused disease, or a disease that's at least caused or influenced by genetic influence. So the main topic, what we are talking about today, are the Paurushika diseases. This is how can we live in a good way so that we can prevent diseases. Now, what happens when we are not living in accordance with the laws of nature, in accordance with the laws of life? And this is called pragyaparat. It's called a mistake of the intellect, or a mistake in thinking. And this is what leads to wrong action and wrong effects, or effects that can cause diseases. So how does it come? What is meant when we say wrong thinking? Here in the text, it said failure of the intellect. It's being overshadowed by the influence of the senses. And then we mistake the non-self for the self. This means the unimportant we take for the important, and the self we keep for the non-self. This means we do not have a good access to the self, to the Atma. I just want to give you some examples. You have been invited by some friends, and you had a great lunch or dinner, and you really feel satisfied after taking food. It's a good feeling in your stomach, and you're absolutely content after the meal. But then after 5 or 10 minutes, they're serving dessert. It's cappuccino and cake coming out. And what do you do? Are you going to say, no, I'm already content, I'm absolutely happy the way it is? Or will you say, yes, I will take it? And then maybe have some pressure in your stomach, some heartbeat, some discomfort in your digestive system. So many times we would say, yes, we do. And maybe sometimes we would say, no. But this is how imbalance accumulates. Many, many times every day, we can say yes or no to something. And habitually, we often say yes to something that is not good for us, that does not bring any well-being or any balance to our systems. This can be through overwork, this can be through social pressure, this can be through difference in opinion in our family or friends. And then we often do things that we know that are not correct. But then the actions become incorrect, and the fruit of action becomes a burden to our physiology. And this is what brings imbalance to the doshas, which brings imbalance to our digestive fire agni, and it brings imbalance to the nourishment of our dhatus, of our body tissues. And slowly, slowly, over the years, diseases, imbalances develop. And Hippocrates, the Greek physician, said, diseases never come like lightning from blue heaven. Diseases always develop through years or decades of action against laws of nature. So when we end up having a heart attack or a stroke or dementia or something serious, this is not the consequence of what we did for the last 1 or 2 days. It's the consequence of our lifestyle for many, many years. And we have many possibilities to correct our lifestyle and also to do away with the consequences of our lifestyle, to remove the improper substances that are built in our physiology when our life has not been in accordance with the laws of nature. So we always have a second chance to correct things, but it's always best to do the right things the right time. So this is what we learn when we meditate, that we come more and more in tune with nature, and we get the sensitivity to know what is right and wrong, and we get the sensitivity and the energy to do the things the right way. So meditation has a very high value in how to overcome pragyaparat. But there's some other things also which we'll talk about very shortly. Now, there's also some other influence that can bring health or disease, and this is the factor time. When time is always changing, and this change in time always has some influence in our physiology. And if we do not react to the changes in time, then also some imbalances can arise. For example, not being dressed properly in cold weather, not eating the correct food according to the season, sleeping late in the morning, waking up during nighttime, when we develop in older age that we don't cut back in our activities. All these are things that are also connected to the influence of time into our physiology. And there's one more factor, and that's the use of the senses. The texts also say that if we do not use our senses in the correct way, this will also develop diseases. So it's very important to get the clarity of mind, to get the sensitivity of doing things the right way. And this is what we develop through our regular meditation, through our TMCD program, and through life in accordance to natural law that we can develop out of these practices. Now, one factor that is very strongly affecting our health is agni, is the digestive fire. So mostly when we talk about Ayurveda, many people talk about the doshas. And we know how important it is to balance the doshas. Today, I want to take the time and dive more deeply into the importance of agni, into the importance of the digestive fire. You all know that agni is the first word in Rig Veda. And Rig Veda is the constitution of the universe. And Maharishi always told us that in these texts, first things are said first, important things are mentioned in first place, and everything else is a commentary to the first things. So if agni is the first word in Rig Veda, it's of highest importance to our life. And agni has many levels. We know universal agni, that's the energy of the universe. In our solar system, the sun is representing agni. And in every individual, agni is represented by the digestive fire. And the seat of agni is the solar plexus. That's the nerve complex that's right in the middle of our abdomen. And from there, our digestive process is directed. So when we eat, food enters our digestive tract, and agni digests the gross food and makes very subtle substances from it. So in the beginning, we have some hard things that we have to chew, and they are made smaller particles until we have small molecules. And these small molecules then, they can penetrate the linings of the digestive tract, and they are then distributed all over our body. So you can see here we have big particles, smallest particles, and these smallest particles get distributed in our physiology, in our body, and there in the body they create the tissues when things are well digested. And not only the tissues are created, when agni is strong, then one body fluid is created that is called Ojas in the Vedic texts. And Ojas means the shining substance. It's the shining substance, it's the vital fluid in our body that is distributed evenly in between the dhatus, in between the cells. It's all over the body. And it can only be created and nourished when agni is strong and when the food that we take is absolutely digested well and completely. So digestive action is of utmost importance for for the formation of healthy dhatus and for the formation of ojas. And we'll see shortly what the activities of ojas are in our physiology. Ojas is mainly the body fluid that keeps us healthy, that keeps everything else in balance. Now, this process of digesting the food that we take in a meal until it's so subtle that it can penetrate through the linings of the digestive tract takes several hours. Usually takes about 5 to 6 hours. And agni is very sensitive. It is disturbed when some new food comes before the food that we have taken is digested completely. So when you take a meal, let's say at 1 o'clock noon, it takes about 5 to 6 hours, means it takes till about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, until this breaking up the particles of the food is finished and the food can penetrate to the body tissues through the intestinal linings. So, and this can only happen when agni is not disturbed. Now, how is agni disturbed? Agni is always disturbed when you have some new food entering the digestive tract. So if you take your lunch at 1 o'clock and you take some coffee and cake at 3 o'clock, agni stops digesting here in the middle of the process and goes back to square one. It goes back to the stomach and starts digesting what you have ingested recently. And this undigested substance remains in your intestines. And undigested substance in the body is always called ama. And ama always has the effect of toxins in the body. So whenever you start eating or taking anything nourishing that before the food you have taken in the meal before is completely digested, you're producing ama. And this is something that you really have to take seriously, because this can save you a lot of troubles. Ama is the bad boy in our physiology. It's the substance that is the breeding ground for all diseases. So we always have to avoid creating ama. And if ama has accumulated in the body, we have to do all we can to remove the accumulated ama, because this is how disease starts. So please take this knowledge from today's lecture. When you eat, always wait for the next meal until this meal is completely digested. And this takes at least 4 to 6 hours. And the body gives you a very distinct signal that the food is digested. And the signal is the feeling of hunger. And the feeling of hunger is completely different from the feeling you have when you see coffee and cappuccino and cake. This is something very basic in your stomach. You feel hollowness in your stomach, you feel some crumbling, you feel some grumbling, you feel some noise, you feel some hollowness in your stomach, and you definitely have to take some food. So this feeling of hunger is something very valuable, because this is the main indicator that the food that you have taken in your previous meal is completely digested and that your body is now ready to take in the next meal. Now, as an adult, we should not have more than 3 meals every day, except if you're very thin and have a very tiny, a very subtle physiology where everything goes very fast, meaning that you have a very strong predominance of vata, then maybe 4 meals would be okay. But these are very rare people. It's maybe 1 or 2 in 100. So everyone else needs a break of at least 5 hours between meals until the hunger, the feeling of hunger is very positive and strong, and only then we should take the next meal. And this is during the day. And during the night time, we should not take any food at all, and there should be a break of at least 12 hours between the last meal of the day and the first meal of the next day. But I'll show you these in different charts as we continue. Now, this is the very basic knowledge that I wanted to convey to you. So you see the importance of agni. You see when agni works well, we produce ojas and healthy body tissues. And if we interrupt agni in its basic activity of digestion, we create undigested substances in our body. And these undigested substances are toxic. Now let's talk about ojas. What is ojas? Ojas is the substance that keeps our mind-body system healthy. A strong immune system, a well-nourished physiology is created by the increase of ojas. Ojas is the energy that maintains personal integrity. And every individual shines through ojas. We draw our resilience, our vitality, our health, our joy of life from ojas. And the texts say life becomes vital, it becomes ayu through ojas. And here's some original texts from Ashtanga Hridayam, the third great text of Ayurveda. And it also says in its Sutrasthana that Soma is the Ojas, and it's called Somatmaka. Ojas has the quality of Soma. It is the finest essence of food and the body tissues. It nourishes and regulates all body tissues. Soma is not a thin but a thick liquid. It is cool. It's transparent and slightly reddish. It connects consciousness with the body. So we can say it holds body and soul together. And when ojas is decreased and diminished or becomes absent, is not created anymore, this means death. Then the soul separates from the body, leaves the body, and the body falls dead. And ojas controls the body's states of activity, meaning that the shifting from one state of consciousness to another is basically steered by ojas. So when you transcend, when you wake up in the morning, when you shift from sleep into dream, all these shifts are basically regulated by ojas. And only strong ojas allows you to have clear experience of transcendental pure consciousness. So ojas is very important for our vitality, for our inner clarity, and for the experience of bliss consciousness. Here we have another quote about the significance of ojas from Charaka Samhita. And it says, ojas keeps all living things refreshed and young. So it's the factor that keeps us young, that keeps the aging process away from us. There is no life without ojas. Ojas marks the beginning and further development of the embryo. It is the embryo's nourishing fluid. It enters the heart at the moment of the creation of the heart. Loss of ojas means loss of life itself. Ojas represents the essence of the fundamental substance of all tissues. And we'll later hear that this is called the extracellular matrix. And prana owes its existence to ojas. So ojas is very basic for the functions of our body. It's very basic for a state of balance and health. Now let's in contrast see what is ama. Ama is the result of an interruption of the digestive process at any stage of digestion. I showed you that how this comes into being when we interrupt the digestive process by taking in food before the food of the previous meal is digested. And this leads to a derangement of agni. This means that agni is disturbed and it becomes imbalanced. And this is what's said in the next paragraph. Etiological factors for the formation of ama are the derangements of agni. And these are called vishamagni, meaning irregular agni, tikshna agni, meaning too hot agni, or manda agni, meaning too low agni, too not warm enough. And this is caused by irregularities in food, so irregular food intake, and irregularities in vihara, in lifestyle, meaning not having a regular daily routine, not having regularity in how we live. And what's also a very strong factor in creating ama is the influence of mental and emotional stress. So another reason why it's good to meditate regularly, because this is how we digest our stress. The text continues saying that ama is the main pathogenetic factor in disease formation. Ama starts circulating in the body. So it is not restricted to the digestive system. It enters the body, and it's also produced in the body when the distribution of nutrients is not supported by agni within the body. So ama can circulate in the body, it accumulates in the dhatus and in the spaces in between the dhatus, and ama blocks the shrotas. Shrotas are the vessels. This can be the blood vessels and other channels like the bronchial tubes, the nerve channels, and other subtle channels that go throughout our physiology. And thereby, ama gives rise to imbalance of biological rhythms. So once ama is there, irregularity becomes more and more. And this is something you find out once you're out of balance, once you're out of rhythm in life. It's very difficult to fall back in a good rhythm, because then ama takes over and rules over and brings you out of your regular routine and your regularities in life. And now the next paragraph is also very important. Ama, if it's not digested, it first gives rise to imbalance of the functions. This means first thing that comes is that the doshas get out of balance. So when you are stressed, vata becomes more. When you are too intense in your activities, pitta becomes more. If you forget your regular physical exercise, kapha becomes more, etc. And then when these imbalances continue to exist, then the dhatus, the structures of the body, become destroyed. And this is what happens when you have a heart attack or a stroke or another physical disease. So ama is something we want to avoid. We want to restrict from being created in the body. This is one thing. And if it's there and it's always again and again created, it's part of life to create some ama. We always have to remove ama in regular intervals. Now, what are the symptoms of accumulated ama? Here you can read some of the symptoms. One of the main symptoms is tiredness, heaviness in the body, lack of energy, brain fog, and also it's restlessness and inability to sleep properly. Then it's lack of appetite, but at the same time, very often the desire for improper food. Then within the digestive tract, it's bloating, it's gas formation. Then it can be constipation or diarrhea, meaning that the transport of food and waste material becomes irregular in the digestive tract. Then very often acidity is a symptom of ama. And then you have sour eructations, you have heartburn. Ama can also irritate the feeling of taste in the mouth or in the body. You can have sour, bitter, or salty taste in the mouth. And besides tiredness, pain is one of the main symptoms of ama. So you can have pain in the joints or limbs, or stiffness in the limbs. So when you wake up in the morning feeling stiff, this is the result of accumulated ama. And another symptom that is more related to the imbalance of kapha is mucus formation and blockage of the airways. So when you have a lot of mucus in the nose, in the sinus, or in the bronchial tubes, this is also a symptom of accumulated ama. Then your excretions also become affected by ama when you have opaque or discolored urine, or when you have funny colors of your stools. This can also be a symptom of ama. Not only funny colors, but also funny shapes. So our excretions can also indicate the presence of ama. So if you have any of these symptoms, getting rid of ama is of utmost importance. Now, how can we create ojas and reduce ama? How can we nourish our dhatus, our physiology? How can we nourish our mind? What I did is I organized the main recommendations of the Ayurvedic texts into 5 categories. And these categories are relaxation and exercise. So it's always 2 pairs of opposites. Relaxation and exercise are very important to avoid ama and to remove ama. And then, very important, nutrition and detoxification. And one very important factor is also purpose of life and purpose in life. So let's talk about each of these categories and find out how we can increase ojas and reduce ama by these 5 categories of activities. Now, in relaxation, we all do something very important. We all meditate regularly. Many of us do our advanced techniques. So this is something that has to have a very fixed place in our daily schedule. And even if we meditate regularly, we need some extra time for long rounding every once in a while. So this should be every few months that we take an extended weekend or a week, or at least 1 or 2 days where we do some long rounding, as you do now in this World Peace Assembly, in these coherence meetings. So this is something very important that important activity to increase ojas. Now, something that we really cannot underestimate is the importance of sleep. And this is something that I can see very frequently in meditators, that they don't take sleeping before midnight seriously enough. We need to sleep before midnight every day. So going to bed between 10 and 11 p.m. and sleeping as soon as possible is very important. Otherwise, we will never get the full balance of the doshas and will never get the full benefit of sleep. So sleeping before midnight, take this as a very important activity to create ojas as a rasayana, as a medicine for yourself, and as a method to reduce ama in your physiology. And also during our daily activities, we need breaks. Research has shown that our attention span is about 90 minutes. This is why our activities that we do in one stroke should never be longer than 90 minutes. So let's try to finish my lecture before the 90 minutes are over, because then your activity, your attention span will be very much reduced, and you cannot take as much as you can take after a break. And not only do we need the breaks that we get in meditation, the breaks that we get in sleep, the breaks that we get after 90 minutes of activity, we also need holidays. We need time to change our patterns of life. I call it the symmetry break, the symmetry breaking. When we have our normal rhythm of daily activities, we get somehow fixed in these, and we lose the perspective, the eagle perspective on our daily activities. And as soon as we just have a few days of holidays, we get a new perspective, and we can see things more properly again. And this is something that greatly increases our creativity and our performance in daily activities. So these are just a few points on the factor of relaxation. Many more things can be said. And if you take one of my webinars, you will learn a lot more about this. What's also important is exercise. We know that many diseases of modern lifestyle are connected to lack of exercise, to lack of physical activity. Our sedentary lifestyle is, as researchers say, as dangerous as smoking or any other harming life habit. So we need to have physical exercise every day. And this physical exercise every day has to be at least 30 minutes. And this can include yoga, asanas, our daily walk and talk, light jogging, and also other kinds of exercises according to your individual capacity. So it's not that everybody should do the same thing. Depending on the prevailing doshas, you can do different things. So if vata is prevailing, you should rather do something like yoga and walks or Nordic walking. If you have pitta as the prevailing dosha, winter sports, swimming, jogging, climbing can be very good. And if kapha is prevailing, then you should do some weight exercises or some team sports like soccer, like ball games, like tennis or any other team games. And something is very important no matter what kind of exercise you do. And this is not taken seriously by most sports instructors. when you do any kind of exercise, do it only with nose breathing. As soon as you have to open your mouth to get enough air when you do your exercise, you are exerting, you are overexerting, and you might be doing more damage to your physiology than you're doing good. Because nose breathing is connected to a relaxation response, whereas mouth breathing is always connected to a fight and flight response. And this means that you start an arousal of stress hormones as soon as you start doing mouth breathing. So always use your nose for breathing and use your mouth only for eating and not for breathing. So most people ask, well, when I do my exercise, I do breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. Is that okay? No, you have to breathe through nose only. This is very important. And please, if you only take 2 pieces of information from today's event, take that you do not take any food in between meals and that you exercise only with nose breathing. So these are the 2 main points I want to convey to you. Now let's move to the next item of good health, and this is nutrition. Nutrition is very important to build up our physiology. I think everybody agrees on this. So there's a saying, you are what you eat, and eating keeps our physiology alive. And this is something that is taken very seriously in Ayurveda. So strict fasting that prohibits the intake of food for even more than 1 day is absolutely not okay from the Ayurvedic point of view. So we need to take at least 1 meal every day. So no long time fasting. This is not in accordance with the principles of Ayurveda. So we need regular meals, and these meals should be according to the strength of agni. And our feeling of hunger is a very good indicator of the strength of agni. So we should only eat when we are hungry, and at the same time, we should only eat when it's a proper time for meal. I will just show you in a minute what the proper timings are. Now, the second point with regard to nutrition is that you always have to take good quality of nutrients. You should prefer organic food. That's the best. And at least avoid pre-cooked industrial food. So this is something you want to avoid because it can be very damaging to your system. Now, if you want to refine these principles, then you should also take your food according to season and dosha. So this is something we cannot go into detail during this short lecture. This is something you will learn in Ayurvedic courses and also in our webinars. So it's something you should think about, you should know that food should be different in spring than in summer or in winter. Now in spring, it's very important to take fresh things. So go out when you walk, pick some herbs, put it on your food. This is something very, very good and very timely in this season. Now, as important as we deem the quality of food is the eating behavior. What is absolutely disgusting to me is when I see people with their earphones plugged in with loud music or news or whatever, or a TV running next to their dining table. This is absolutely not in accordance with the laws of nature. When we eat, we should only eat and do nothing else. And when we eat, we should chew well. So take time to eat, chew every bite very, very well. It should be liquid in your mouth before you swallow it. And never divide your attention. You may have some nice talk during your meals, but don't enter into serious discussions or anything that takes your emotions away, that sways your emotion. Eat with full attention and only have very light conversations during meals. And take time, really take half an hour for every meal and chew really well. These are very important points. And as we said before, the breaks between meals should at least be 4 to 6 hours. And don't take any food during nighttime. So we have here a picture of the doshas within the daily rhythm. So the day starts with sunrise, and first is kapha time, then we have pitta time around noon, and we have vata time in the afternoon until sunset. And we should only take food as long as we can see the sun. So from the rising of sun till the set of sun, this should be the time when we take food. Now, in European winter, when the days are very short, some taking food a little bit later is okay, but it shouldn't be too late. And we should never, ever take food in the time between 8 or 9 p.m. till about 6 p.m. because this is the time when agni is absolutely busy distributing the vital substances that we take in our food throughout the body. So if you take new food during nighttime, agni gets prevented from distributing the vital substances to our dhatus, and we will not create healthy dhatus. So avoid taking food during nighttime, especially in the time between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning. There should be no food at all. And the earlier you stop taking food in the vata period of the day, the better for your health. So this could be the biorhythm of your meals. Take a light breakfast sometime in between 6 and 9 in the morning. And if you are not hungry at all, then you can skip breakfast. Be very keen that pitta time is the time for your main meal. So lunch should be the main meal of the day. This is the time when your digestive fire is strongest and can digest the biggest amount of food. So this between 12 and 2 p.m. should be your lunch and the main meal of the day. And don't take dinner too late. So start your program early enough so that you can have your dinner at the latest 7 p.m., 19 o'clock. So this is a good time for the last meal, and don't take food any later. And as we said, in between, you should only take water or tea, no juices, no snacks, no fruit, everything that has more nourishing effect than water or tea should be taken during the meals and never in between the meals. Now, I want to give you some information about food to prefer during springtime. Springtime is the kapha season of the year, and during kapha season, we should prefer pungent, bitter, and astringent tastes. So what food items contain these three tastes, all fresh greens, and this includes wild herbs, wild collected herbs like bear garlic, like stinging nettles, like dandelion greens, like radishes, all fresh salads and spinach. So these are the bitter and astringent tastes that you should have at least once a day. And if you go out for a walk in a park, in the forest, in the meadows, collect some herbs. Buy a book about wild herbs and start collecting herbs. It's great to add them to your food, and especially during this kapha season, they give very, very good energy. You know, they have all the fresh energy that was collected in the roots during winter period, and they pass on this fresh energy to your physiology. And the qualities of food should be light, warm, and dry. So dry in this connection does not mean that you should save water. It means that you should not use too much oil and fatty substances. So you can use all kinds of vegetables grown above the ground and reduce the vegetables that are grown below the ground. For example, carrots, potatoes. So all root vegetables should be reduced in spring. And if you get fruit, this is also good to take. Food should always be cooked and served warm. And this is good in spring because agni is quite low in spring. So this is also why we should have the pungent taste. This pungent taste is contained in many spices like pepper, like ginger, like curcuma or turmeric. So these spices should be used quite well during spring. And as I told you before, dry quality means use only little oil or ghee, and avoid heavy foods like meat and dairy products. So dairy products, especially cheese and other heavy dairy products, should be reduced in spring during this kapha season. When we talk about food, we also have to talk about food supplements. And Rasayana therapy is very important in Maharishi Ayurveda. And when we talk about food supplements, I want to start with highest first, with the best first, and this is Maharishi Amrit Kalash. Maharishi Amrit Kalash, as a Rasayana, was awarded the honor of being immunity booster of the year 2020 in India. And this award was given because studies show that Amrit Kalash is really great in boosting immunity, in saving the immune system from disease. So the immune system becomes more intelligent through Amrit Kalash. It has more power to fight against viruses and bacteria and other harmful influences from outside. And at the same time, it becomes a lot milder against pollen and other harmless things that might create problems in springtime. So the immune system is balanced. It gets stronger against dangers, and it gets milder with respect to neutralizing pollen and other protein to our body. So Amrit Kalash is mentioned in Charak Samhita as the first and most holistic Rasayana. It's well researched as a free radical scavenger, meaning that it removes reactive particles from the body that can be the cause of disease. Amrit Kalash builds up Ojas and all the 7 body tissues. It prevents premature aging, and it strengthens the immune system, as I told you before, helps to acquire less infections and also acquire less allergies. But there are a few other Ayurvedic herbs that are very recommended, especially now in the time of the pandemic and also in springtime. So one of them is Yashtimado or licorice root. This is the best herb for any viral infection, especially in nose, throat, and respiratory tract area. Licorice root has shown in very good research papers that it has a specific effect against COVID infections. So this can be both. My recommendation is to use Amrit Kalash as a preventive, and if you feel you have something going on your nose or throat, maybe some infection might get started, start taking MA687 immediately. So take 1 or 2 tablets in every 2-3 hours, and this is how you might be able to avoid a further development of a disease. So this is something you should keep at home and have ready as soon as you need it. And another preparation that is almost evenly important in strengthening your body is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is the very best neuroadaptive herb. You can see the ashwagandha plant and roots in the picture here. It's very useful in strengthening the autonomic nervous system and also the immune system. And actually, MA687 is a combination of licorice and ashwagandha. But if you have more stress going on, if you have some things that are really putting some pressure on you, maybe you would prefer MA686 also as a preventive, and in case of acquiring an infection, start MA687 immediately. And the dosage for regular use of ashwagandha is taking MA686 like 2 times 2 tablets every day. Another herb that is very useful in spring is Tulsi or Indian basil or holy basil. It's Krishna's favorite herb, and it's the best herb for prevention and treatment of allergies and mucus formation in the respiratory tract. It's contained in MA1788, and this is the preparation to take in case of allergies. So if you have any seasonal allergies, like against pollen or any herbs, this is the preparation to keep at home and start as soon as you feel any problems from this infection. And another classical preparation is Anuthylam. Anuthylam is a traditional herbalized oil for nasal application. And it's useful in prevention and treatment of infections and allergies of the nasal cavities and the sinus. And this Anuthylam is the constituent of MP16 oil. This is also something you should have at home and use regularly. Just take a drop or 2 on your palm, on the palm of your left hand, and bring some oil in your nostrils and pull it up. And you can do this 2-3 times a day. Very simple and very effective in preventing infections and also mitigating the effects of allergies. And there's something very interesting, a very recent article that was published just a week ago in the medical paper Phytomedicine, states that or shows very good results from a randomized placebo-controlled pilot clinical trial on the efficacy of Ayurvedic treatment regime in COVID-19 positive patients. And they used actually exactly the herbs that I just talked about. And this trial had very positive results in mild COVID diseases. So we are in good association when we use these herbs. There's also some preparations from modern medicine I want to advise you taking. And this is, for example, vitamin D. I feel it's very important to take vitamin D all year round. And the dosage should be 1,000 units per 20 kg of body weight. So you should, if you weigh 70 kilograms, you should take 4,000 international units of vitamin D every day. If you weigh 90 kilograms, take 5,000 units. If you weigh 50 kilograms, take 3,000 units. But do it every day and do it all year round. It's one of the most important substances to strengthen the immune system and to balance your nervous system. Also, magnesium is very essential. You can take it for regeneration and to balance your nervous system and also your digestive tract. You can take a pinch or up to 1 teaspoon of magnesium citrate every day. And for everybody who's a vegetarian, should take vitamin B12 on a regular basis. Now, let's talk about detox. That's the 4th pillar of health I was indicating in the beginning. And this is Panchakarma therapy. The classical texts recommend seasonal purification. This is a very strong recommendation. And the effect of purification treatment is the increase of Ojas, the removal of ama, balancing the doshas, clarity of senses and mind, rejuvenation, and removal of the root cause of disease. And Maharshi was very, very strong in recommending Panchakarma to be done twice a year for everybody. And this is also something that the Ashtanga Hridaya states. Panchakarma purification therapy should always be performed in the period of change between seasons. So at least twice a year, when we change from cold to warm, and when we change from warm to cold, this means in spring and in autumn, we should not forget to do Panchakarma. Now, doing a inpatient Panchakarma treatment is the best thing we can do. But I will show you a possibility that you can do Panchakarma even if you cannot afford an inpatient treatment twice a year, neither from respect of time nor respect of money. Now, I started doing Panchakarma treatments 30 years ago. And when I did this, there was not really any scientific background to offer Panchakarma. But this has changed very, very strongly. The Nobel Prize in Physiology of 2016 was given to Professor Osumi from Japan for his research in cellular self-repair. Professor Sumi called this autophagy, meaning self-consuming or self-eating. And what is eaten itself from the body is the ama, basically. Every cell and in the matrix between the cells, what we call the lymph or rasatatu and the ojas, in between the ojas, there is waste material deposited in the body. This could be ama from the food or also ama from undigested waste materials of the cells. And this is something that leads to premature aging of the cells and eventually through also to death of the cells. And it's very interesting. It was shown in research that uh, uh, doing this autophagy would lead to much longer lifespan. Now, how is autophagy induced in the body? It's induced by breaks in food intake, or in other words, in food restriction. So when you have a specific break in between meals, this is something that induces autophagy. So inducing autophagy increases the lifespan in bacteria 3 times. In yeast, also 3 times. In simple beings like worms, it doubles the lifespan, and in mammals like mice, the lifespan is increased by 50%. So it's something that's really effective. And this is actually what I told you about the breaks between meals. And when you do Panchakarma, this principle is extended. So autophagy is basically the recycling system of the body's cells. And it protects against premature aging, destruction of nerves. So it prevents Alzheimer's, it prevents cancer and cardiovascular disease. You can see here body cells and pure lymph or ojas in between the cells. When there's no ama, you have unrestricted supply of nutrients and information. And when the ama is stored in the cells or in between the cells, then the information and food supply cannot flow freely. And then the cells starve and they suffer premature aging. And this is something that goes throughout the body. And Panchakarma therapy is the Ayurvedic solution to this problem. So every Panchakarma therapy consists of 3 phases. It's a pre-treatment, a main treatment, and a post-treatment. I don't want to talk very much about it. I think we have to come to an end. I just want to show you a few pictures from Panchakarma treatments. Those of you who have already experienced it, they know how good it is, how good it feels to be treated the Panchakarma way of treatment. When you have your Shirotara or a synchronous oil massage or these subtle oils being applied to your body, it's something that really gives this wonderful experience of absolute well-being and of purification. And every week I experience the Panchakarma consultations when our patients leave our clinic and everybody feels so uplifted, so light, so clear, so pure, so healthy. So it's something really great. So the time schedule for Panchakarma is that you have about a week of pre-treatment, 1 or 2 weeks of main treatment, where you have to take a vacation, and this is best done in an inpatient setting, and then you can do a post-treatment for as long time as you want. Now, everybody knows that this is something time-consuming, and it's also very costly. And what I have developed over the years is a purification home treatment. And I call it the Herbal Detox. It's a 1-week purification treatment according to the classical texts. It involves a light diet, herbal preparations, exercises from Ayurveda and yoga, and an intestinal cleanse. It's very easy to apply at home, and it's available as a webinar under the guidance of 2 doctors, namely my daughter and myself. And this is something I really want to offer to you. You should experience this. It's just a great thing. And this gives the possibility for really, literally everybody to have Panchakarma twice a year. So there's many indications for Panchakarma and also for this herbal detox. It's prevention of disease, any accumulation of ama. It's joint pain, deranged digestive power, metabolic syndrome, overweight, and it's an effective start for any medical treatment. It's infections and allergies, tiredness, and it can be done in between courses of chemotherapy, and it stimulates the self-regulation mechanisms in complicated cases of diseases. So this is a really great treatment, and the next Herbal Detox webinar will start exactly in 2 weeks from today. And if you're quick, you can still apply, especially if you live within the European Union, because you have to be sent the course materials. It's a package of herbs. And if you live out of the European Union, it might be too late to order. You might not be able to receive it in time. So this webinar consists of 7 interactive live webinar lectures. You receive herbal preparations for a week. It consists of a Virechana, 5 exercises, a daily inspirational email, a course booklet, and access to all webinar recordings for 2 weeks in total. So if you feel inspired, please apply, and you can find all information on this website, ayurvedawebinar.eu. And when you enter this website, it says that the webinar is already closed, but you can still apply for it. And if you're quick, you can send the material on Monday, and within the European Union, you will definitely receive it in time. So I want to give you a summary and come to an end. How can we nourish and purify body and mind the Ayurvedic way? We want to reach perfect health. This is the definite goal of Maharishi Ayurveda. And we can use the 5 pillars of health with strategies to nourish and purify body and mind. And these are relaxation and exercise. So we need rest and activity. We need nutrition and detoxification. And we need a purpose in life. And what's the purpose in life? This is what Maharishi tells us. Expansion of happiness is the purpose of life. So all these techniques from Ayurveda will clear your mind, will give you inner serenity, will open the ways to experience bliss within yourself. And then you will find the purpose of life and find the purpose of your individual life. And I wish you all this experience of perfect health, of bliss, and make good use of what you heard today. And then you're definitely on the great path to permanent happiness. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll stay on for the next 15 minutes to answer all your questions. And when this lecture is finished, take time for the most important issue of life, for happiness. So thank you again for listening, and please enter your questions into the chat, and I'll be happy to respond.
I think there are already a few questions.
Yes, I can read them. Okay. So Isabel Garda says, very deep analysis of disease causes. Thank you. Hope you could understand and it was clear to you. Isabel says, I'm confused because I've heard in India saying in the morning, eat like a king, at midday like a prince, and at night, eat like a beggar. Well, I can sign what is written for the night, eat like a beggar in the evening. The morning food depends on your activity. If you go out for strong physical activity, if you have a heavy job as a farmer, if you have heavy physical activity as part of your job, then I think this saying is correct. If you have an office job, moving only your fingers on your computer manual, then this is not the correct thing. You need a a very light breakfast, if at all. So if you do not feel hungry, then skip breakfast, maybe have a light meal at 9 o'clock somewhere in the morning, but not at 6 or 7. And if you have, and save your hunger for your lunch. Then Tina and Tom ask, can the rasayanas be used by children? Yes, all the preparations that were mentioned here in this presentation can be used for children as well, only you reduce the dosage by body weight. So if it says 1 tablet a day for an adult, use half a tablet for children. And Aliona asked, how about South Africa for the webinar program? Give it a try, I cannot guarantee. And Margareta says, God bless you for this presentation, Jai Gurudev. Oh, thank you so much. When is the best time of the day for eating fruit? Well, actually, it's either the morning or lunchtime, and integrate fruit into your meal. And Aliona asks, will coffee with almond milk break the fast at 6 a.m.? Yes, basically yes. Yes, it breaks the fast. So take almond milk when you feel hungry, maybe a little bit later. And Peter asks, is doing the home treatment ghee and castor oil regularly once each season an alternative to the herbal detox? Peter, give it a try. We have really, really enthusiastic feedback from our participants, and you will polish your Ayurvedic knowledge when you do it. It's just a great thing. And also, it's a group yagya. We did it with 121 governors from Germany in December, in the midst of the pandemic, and it was just great. You know, we had this big group. We're all focused on good health, and it was a purification program for all over Europe. So participating in the webinar is just like being in a group meditation program. And then Isabel asks, what is the best light food for breakfast for Vata and Pitta type? I think it's either some light soup like khichdi or some porridge. This would be the best thing. Or you can also have cooked fruit or very good sun-ripened fruit in summer. During winter, you should definitely have something warm for Vata. Marianne asks, is a little honey in the afternoon considered to be food? Yes and no. If you're strict, maybe it's food. If you are, very much Vata, then maybe it could be okay. It depends, is it really hunger or is it just a habit? If it's a habit, take your honey in the beginning or end of your lunch, of your dinner. And then Gerda from Holland says, thank you, this was very interesting. Thank you, Gerda, for this compliment. And Franz says, have you an opinion about COVID-19 vaccination you wish to share with us? Well, most people ask me, are you vaccinated? And my answer is, I'm not vaccinated and I will wait. And if I ever get vaccinated, I'll be very well prepared by taking Amrit Kalash 2 times 1 spoon at least 1 or 2 weeks before the first vaccination, and also making sure that I have optimum levels of vitamin D, selenium, magnesium, and zinc in my body. Otherwise, I would not do it because the risk of side effects could be quite big. But I think with a good preparation, it could be possible to do it. especially if one needs to travel, as I might need to do. And I think traveling without a vaccination might be quite difficult in future. I think for most people, the risk of the vaccination is less than the risk of disease. But for some people, it might be the other way around. So if you are not afraid of either one, don't acquire either one. And if you are afraid of the disease, get prepared well before a vaccination, means take the rasayanas quite time before, take vitamin D, selenium, magnesium, zinc quite some time before, so you have optimum blood levels, and don't be stressed and sick when you get the vaccination. So you really have to be in a good state of health. And if you feel you don't need it, then protect your body through taking the rasayanas and vitamin D and selenium and zinc. So you have to do this anyway, irrespective if you get vaccinated or not.
Wolfgang, I wanted to ask one clarification. For doing this herbal treatment, one should do it always in a webinar. So there should be a time when it's connected and there is a group of people doing it.
Yes. So this is something we offer, to do it in a group, in a webinar, but it can also be done alone. And it's just like meditating alone and doing a group meditation. So it's a different level of benefit. You have a benefit from either one, but maybe the group meditation benefit is a little bit more. And it's the same with doing the cleanse on your own or doing the cleanse in a group.
No, I believe it's wonderful only to hear about it. But I just was wondering if some people want to do it by themselves, because maybe they want to do, they don't know about a group starting, what they should do.
So it will be offered again in December, and it will be announced again through international, because it's through International Course Office. It's an event that's encouraged by international. So for those who cannot do it now, apply again in October, and then you can do the winter cleanse with us. And those who speak German, within the next month or so, there will be an on-demand webinar available for this herbal detox in German language. I don't know when we will have the English available on demand, but the English version is only now this webinar in April, starting April 9th, so in 2 weeks from today, and the next one in December.
Okay, and this is open for all countries, for all the world.
It's open for all countries. Okay. Only we have to send the material.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's still possible to send the material in time to South America or Australia. We will do our best by air freight, etc., but we cannot guarantee completely. But within European Union, it's no problem at all.
Okay. Well, I think on behalf of everyone, I'm sure that I interpret what everyone is thinking. Really a great, great thanks. And it's really revitalizing, especially in this time, to think of health and to put the attention on health. And you gave so many advices. It's so precious about what we can do to keep ourselves healthy. And the feeling is that our health is in our hands. So really, what
Actually,
is,
it's true. Yes, yes,
and so this is a great power to think of this.
yes.
And I
And I
think,
think collectively it's even more effective.
yes, exactly. So basically, what we did today, you help us to do. It's a big yagya for health for all Europe and
Yes,
all present
yes,
countries.
yes.
So
Thank you for giving me
so
the
much.
possibility to do so. And thank you all for participating and sharing this knowledge. It's really a great knowledge that we've received through the grace of Maharshi. And this time of public media is so great because we can share it with so many people. So the biggest webinar up to now we had with 560 participants doing the cleanse at once. And the cleanse was prescribed more than 8,000 times in our practice till now. So it's something it's really proved to be very, very effective and very good. So hope to welcome all of you in one of our future webinars.
Absolutely. I think everyone will be thrilled of doing it. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Jai Gurudev
Best
to
wishes.
everybody.
Jai
Bye-bye.
Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. And have a beautiful seminar for this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. This was very beautiful.